Hello, I'm Simon. I'm the designer of the game Robotprins, and in this video I'm going to show you how to play the game. So I'm going to show you how to set up the first level and how to play the first level. The game actually comes with 15 levels and a bunch of cards, and as you can see they are separated by these dividers. And each level will use different cards. So if you play through all 3 campaigns, then you'll be using all of those cards. But for this video I'm just going to show you how to set up the first level. Each level is distinguished by their own level cards, and the level cards are distinguished by these icons here. So what this means is the first campaign and the first level. So this is what I'm going to show you. They have 2 cards. One of them has a boss location and a starting location, but on the flip side is a story and the important setup card. This will show you what cards you need to use to set up and play this level. These are locations, the green ones, these are enemies. And the 2 set icons here is what you will be needing for the progress deck. These are the reward deck. So first of all, I've already gone and found the cards that will be used. The locations, this icon corresponds here. So these are the locations we'll be using, and these are the enemies we'll be using for this level. The icons correspond. But enemies, you will have to remove some of the enemy cards that do not match the player count. So if you're playing alone, I'm setting up a solo game here. So I'm just going to use these cards. These will be included if you have 2 or more players. These will be included if you have 3 or more, and if you have 4 or more, you include that. These can be put away for this game. So that's the progress deck. We shuffle these cards and we put it as a progress deck. Make sure you put it so that you have lots of room to the right of the progress deck, because that is where the locations will be placed. Then we have to do the reward deck. Again, these are the icons that we need. This one and this one. And these will be making up the reward deck. But again, cards that do not match the player count will have to be removed. So these are for 3 or more players. Remove them. And in this deck there are also some cards that are for 3 or more players. I can remove them as well. Now, at the back, there are 3 different types of reward cards, which show the tier, basically. So these are the best cards, the great treasures, and they should be in their own deck, like that. These are the second tier, and these are the first tier. So you separate them into their own deck, and you shuffle these cards, which I didn't do, but they should be shuffled, and they should be placed within reach of all players. That's the reward deck. Next step, you should go through all the keywords and explain what they mean. The reason that you do this is because this is a real-time game, so you don't want to stop mid-game and have to explain to a player what does narrow or vanquish mean. Vanquish means that it's an effect that will happen when you defeat an enemy. These are effects that can come up on these cards. So vanquish, you take 1 damage when you defeat this enemy. Narrow means that only 1 player can be in that room. And the reason I put these on the setup card is to avoid the situation where a card shows up and someone asks what does that mean. Then you have to pause the game and explain it. That's not how a real-time game is supposed to work. It needs to flow. So the game is designed in such a way that you start by not so many effects, but as you progress you will have more effects on all of these cards. So there's more to keep track of as you progress. Those are the keywords. Then there are conditions. Each level will have 1 or more conditions that can occur. And this will also be something that can happen because an enemy has this ability. So this enemy has the stun ability. If you get hit by that enemy, you get the stun card. So you have to have that card within reach as well. So just keep this card close by for now. And now we are finished with the setup card. So now we can place the starting location, which is placed right to the right of the progress deck, and this is the end location which you try to reach. You should place it here. This number in the corner, this is the distance. You will have to be able to fit 4 cards between the starting location and the boss location. So just place it at an approximated distance so that you can fit 4 cards. After this, each player takes a character sheet. Character sheets are double-sided, so you can use a normal or a hard difficulty, but I recommend normal for your first game. Each player also takes 7 dice. Place them next to your character sheet. Each player then takes a character pawn and places it on the starting location. You should note that each of these character sheets has a color. So this one is blue, which is why I brought out the blue player pawn, and each player will start on the starting location. There are also other cards, other dice of other colors that you should keep close by, because they will be available if you get one of the reward decks, the reward cards with that ability. Finally, you should also bring out the boss tray and place the boss for this level. Again, this is the same icon that you had on the level card. So that's the icon for this level. So bring out the boss with that icon and just have this handy so that when it's time to fight the boss, you are ready to do that. Finally, the last step is that you have to take a digital device and you have to go to robotprins.com, select difficulty, normal, select the level that you want to play. This is called Back in Tune, that's the name of this level. And then, now you're ready. When you are ready to start, you press start game and the timer I can show you what happens. You will have a timer and you will have the music played. So keep this handy as well. And this is the setup is ready now, so we're ready to start playing. Now I'm going to show you how the game is actually played. And the game consists of a level stage and a boss stage. During the level stage, your job is to explore and find the locations that lead all the way to the boss, and then travel with your pawn all the way to the boss. And the boss stage, in the boss stage, your job is to defeat the boss. So, the level stage. Robotprins is a real-time game, like I said, which means that once you start playing, you put on the timer and players will roll dice, and you can re-roll dice, any dice, as often as you like, until you get the results that you need. And you can use these dice to take certain actions. There are 3 actions actually. You can take explore, move, and heal. And then when you get into combat, it's a little bit different. There's some exception to these rules. But let me explain the explore action first, because that's what you'll be starting with. Explore means you get to reveal the top card from the progress deck, and to be able to do that, you must have the corresponding icons. Now, whenever you use dice for something in Robotprins, you have to re-roll them after, or you put them aside, meaning you cannot use them again, but then you may re-roll them as soon as you have used them. And when you take the explore action, you get the top card and you reveal it and look at it. And if it is a location, you place it as the next location in the line, which will be leading towards the boss location. And another location. But if it's an enemy, you encounter this enemy. He comes and attacks you. So you have to place this card in front of you, and you have to encounter that enemy. Let me explain what encountering an enemy is like later. I just want to show you the second action that you can take, and that is to move into a territory. If you move, you move your pawn into the next adjacent territory, or location rather. And you have to have the die results that match the card in the top corner. So in order to move here, I will need 2 boots and 1 of these icons. And then I can move, and then I can re-roll these and continue playing. Everything happens simultaneously. All players play simultaneously, and we do take our actions at the same time. The third action you can take is heal, which will only make sense once I've explained what combat works like. So let's say the blue player now draws this card, encounters this enemy. Immediately when combat starts, you have to take all of your dice and re-roll them. You cannot save any dice ahead of combat. And like I said before, you can re-roll dice anytime you want, but in combat there's an exception. You must keep the black dice, because they will be used to activate enemy abilities. So now, this is the situation. I have rolled 3 of these, and now I will activate enemy abilities. That's the first thing I must do. Whenever I roll dice in combat, I must first check, do I have enough of these enemy icons to activate an enemy ability, which I do now. I have these 2 will activate this ability, which is stun, which means he attacks me by using this ability. I have to resolve them from top to bottom, so I cannot choose to do this before I do this. I have to take this one first. When you get one of these conditions, it means you just keep these condition cards ahead of you. This is the inactive side, this is the active side. Normally you just keep it like this, but when a player gets the named condition, you have to flip it over, and you will have to follow the limitations of this condition. This condition actually says that you must take one of your dice and place it on the card, and so you have 1 die less. But you could also, let's say we continue rolling and I now get 2 more of these icons. I cannot take this again because you cannot have more than 1 of each condition. So now I will have to resolve the lower effect instead, which it means 1 damage. When you take 1 damage, you take 1 of your dice, put it on the top of your injury track. And now, if I continue taking damage after this, if I take 1 more damage, I move it down 1 step. If I take 3 damage, 1, 2, 3. When this finally reaches the end of the track, if I take more damage, let's say I am here and I take 3 damage, I will have to take 1, and then I have 2 more to take. I will have to take another of my dice, put it there, 2, 3. So I will lose dice the more damage I take. And this is where heal comes in handy. Heal is something you can take with 3 stars. And this is the only action you can take outside or inside combat. When you're in combat, you may not explore or move. You're stuck in combat. But heal, you can always heal whether you're in combat or not. Healing means you get to either discard a condition card or take back 1 of your dice from your sheets. So I could spend these 3 dice to discard this card, meaning I turn it to the inactive side up, and I take back this die. Then if I have managed to get 3 more stars, I can heal 1 die, which means I take 1 of the dice from the injury track and get it back to my supply. So it's not, you have to take a lot of damage to lose a lot of dice. The drawback is that you spend a lot of time doing this, healing and taking damage. Okay, that's the bad part of combat explained. Now you have how do you defeat the boss or the enemy that you're fighting with. Well, in Robotprins you do not fight him, rather you play music to the enemies. The enemies are so corrupted that they're just trying to tear you down, but if you play music to them, they discover their good side and you rock the evil out of them. So this enemy will need 3 guitars to be defeated. So if I manage to accumulate 3 guitars, I can just use them and defeat this enemy. And then I'm free to proceed with the adventure. But you should first, before you continue, you should check to see if there's a reward. Some enemies will have rewards. And this icon will tell you what reward it is. This is actually from a great treasure from the best pile. So you just take the top treasure and you take this card. And now you have this ability. You place upgrades right next to your character sheets. Rewards can be of 2 types. Either they can be items, which are disposable reward cards that you just use once. This one will give you 2 heal actions. But upgrades are cards that you keep. Actually, you keep both in front of you, but these ones give you a continuous effect. They're not discard and use. So this one will let you transform a coin to a guitar, which is quite useful in combat. You have twice the chance of rolling guitars if you have this. So that's the reward part of combat. Now, the goal of the level stage is to explore all the way to the boss. So I'm just throwing away the enemies and I'm going to show you what you're aiming for is to find locations all the way enough to reach the boss location. And then each player will try to travel there And when you have reached the end of the track, you cannot move any further and you cannot explore any more locations. You can still stay here, explore enemies, just because maybe you want to explore and fight some enemies to get more reward cards. Or you want to stay and heal up if you have time left. But if time runs out, when you're ready to fight the boss, you press the pause button. But if time runs out, obviously you have to fight the boss where you are. And now let me proceed and explain the boss stage. So when you reach the boss stage, you should remove all of the progress cards and you should take the boss card and place it on the table. But first you need to check where everyone's position on the track, because this is what the boss slider is for. You will always fight the boss unless you do really, really poorly. You will always get a chance to fight the boss, but depending on how far you have left to travel, if you didn't reach the boss dwelling in time, then you will have to fight the boss at a disadvantage. So if this is the situation, I'm just one player and I've reached all the way, I'm gonna take the boss slider and slide it all the way in like this. This means I'm fighting him at the 0 difficulty, basically, because I've made it all the way. If I have 1 step left, or if I only made it here and time went out, I will have to slide it out 1 step like this. If I had 2 steps out, I would have to slide it out like this. And if I do really, really poorly, if you see this says 4+ skull, meaning if one player is 4, this far away from the boss dwelling, then the whole team loses. That is very uncommon though. So normally you will try, even being at the 3rd stage means you have quite a severe disadvantage going into boss combat. So try to travel as far as possible. Just an advice from me. And then each player will take their pawn and put it at the starting location of their boss slider. And then you can clear away all of these cards, put the boss in the middle, and this is all that matters now. And you keep your rewards and you keep your conditions if the boss has maybe the boss can cause conditions, so you have to keep them close by as well. And when you are ready to start the boss fight, you press the boss fight button. This is going to play the boss music, and it's going to give you a new timer. So the timer will always reset when you fight the boss. And your goal is to defeat the boss by finishing the track that you're on. So if you're playing a multiplayer game, there are a total of 4 different tracks, because it's up to 4 players. So each player will have their own boss slider slid in here. Let's see, one player may be like this, placing his pawn there. He has to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps, but the blue player only has to go 1, 2, 3 steps. So a boss actually works the same way as fighting a regular enemy. You roll all of your dice, you have to keep the black results to activate a boss ability. This one will deal 1 damage for each of these dice you roll. And then you have to defeat, you have to clear each step of the track that you're on. So if I roll, let's just simulate it for a while. Okay, I get 1 of these, I take 1 damage. I then, let's say I roll 2 of the guitars. I can advance this 1 step. I have to re-roll the guitars now. And then I take 1 more damage because of this. I keep this guitar. I re-roll my dice. And then I have 3 guitars. I move 1 step, having to re-roll 2 of the guitars, but I don't have to re-roll that one. Finally, 3 guitars, I defeat him. But this one goes first. And when you reach this, when all players have reached this stage, you defeated the boss. If one player has reached this stage, but this one is still fighting, this player can start moving the other pawn. So you're not just limited to moving your own pawn, you can actually move other players' pawns, so that player will not be, everyone will not just sit down and wait for that player to finish. You cooperate and try to help each other clear out the boss together. You can also help the other player by healing them, because star results can be shared when healing. There are a few small rules that I will explain now. These apply both for the boss stage and for the level stage. You can always share stars when healing. So if I have rolled 3 stars and my opponent needs stars to heal, I can say, hey, I got stars here, and he can say, yeah, I need those stars. Then you give each other a high five for the star magic to transfer properly, and that player can use these three stars to heal 1 damage. It could even be just 2 stars. Maybe he has 1 star and you have 2 stars, and you can say, go ahead and take these stars. High five, and then those stars are his. Obviously, after that, I have to reroll the dice. Another thing I haven't explained is that stars can always be converted to any icon. That's what this here means. 2 stars can be converted to any icon. So if I have 2 stars and 1 guitar, this could count as 2 guitars, because these 2 could be transformed to guitars, or they can be transformed to movement or to explore visors. Yeah, that's just something that's good to know. So you win the boss combat by moving each pawn down to the end of each track. This will be a 2-player game. If you had more players, you have to clear 1 track for each player. And when if you do this before the time of the boss combat runs out, then you have finished the game. However, if you do not manage to clear all tracks before the boss time runs out, then you have lost that level, and you have to restart the level and set up from the start again. If you're playing the campaign mode, you can keep, if you win the game and you're playing the campaign mode, then you can keep upgrades. So you are allowed to keep 1 reward card for each level that you have defeated. So let's say this was the first level and we defeated it, and now we're playing the 2nd level. I can keep this card that I have here. If I defeat the 2nd level, I could keep both of these cards that I have. So you get stronger as the game goes by. But maybe then I have these cards when I finish the 3rd level. I can only have keep 3 reward cards after the 3rd level, and when I start the 4th. So I have to take 1 of these cards and discard it. And discarded cards are shuffled into the reward deck at the beginning of that level. So this is how you build up your character, and they become stronger as the game progresses. If you lose a level, then you must restart, and you must discard again cards down to what you're allowed to have when you start that level. So again, if I lost the 1st level, I have to restart. Then I have to discard all of my cards, because you cannot start the 1st level with any reward cards. But if let's say I'm going to start my 2nd level and I have 3, when I lose the 2nd level, I have to discard 2 of them, keep 1, and the other 2 goes back into the reward piles, and they are shuffled in as you start a new level. Okay, this is how you play Robotprins. I hope this video helped you get into the game. Obviously, in order to play the game for real, you need to take a look at the rules and understand everything that goes on. But this will hopefully help you get going.